South's oldest rivalry, North Carolina versus Virginia. You'd think that after 129 meetings, North Carolina and Virginia would have it all figured out by now, but nope. This rivalry still brings the heat every year. The South's oldest rivalry, first played in 1892, isn't just about football. It's about bragging rights across the entire state of Virginia and North Carolina. North Carolina currently leads the series 66 to 59 to 4, but don't tell Virginia fans that. These games are always close, and every year feels like it's anyone's game. Now, this rivalry isn't just about what happens on the field. It's about the passionate fan bases, the pre-game tailgates, and the fact that even U.S. presidents have been known to show up. Talk about taking the rivalry seriously. While Virginia dominated early on, North Carolina has had the edge recently, with some long win streaks, including a 9-game stretch. The games always come with ACC championship implications, and let's be honest, the whole rivalry is as southern as a sweet tea on a hot day. Deep South's oldest rivalry? Auburn versus Georgia. Here's the thing about Auburn versus Georgia. It's more than just football. It's like playing against your brother, who also happens to want to beat you at everything. The Deep South's oldest rivalry, dating back to 1892, is 129 games deep, and still as heated as ever. It's hard to deny, though, that Georgia has dominated in recent years, holding a 65 to 56 to 8 advantage as of 2024. But don't let that fool you. This rivalry is a roller coaster of epic moments. From the prayer at Jordan-Hare to the miracle at Jordan-Hare, this game has produced insane drama that leaves fans picking their jaws up from the ground. The atmosphere? As wild as the southern tailgates that happen before kickoff. One thing's for sure, when Auburn and Georgia meet, it's not just a football game. It's an all-out war for supremacy, bragging rights, and a little bit of chaos thrown in. Classic SEC. Sunshine Showdown, Florida versus Florida State. If you think Florida versus Florida State is just another football game, you've got another thing coming. This is the Sunshine Showdown, where state pride and recruiting battles are at the heart of every play. The Gators and Seminoles have been duking it out since 1958, and believe me, both sides take it seriously. This game is often about much more than just a win. It's about making sure your school dominates the state, and maybe even the nation. With Florida leading the series 37-27 too, they've certainly had the upper hand recently. But FSU had their heyday in the 90s under Bobby Bowden, and they're always hungry to take down the Gators when it counts. These games aren't just hard-hitting, they're emotional. Whether it's a dramatic comeback or just pure Sunshine State chaos, expect the intensity to hit you harder than a Gator chomp. Black Diamond Trophy. Virginia Tech versus West Virginia. Virginia Tech versus West Virginia goes beyond football. It's a battle for pride in the coal-rich Appalachian region. The Black Diamond Trophy, introduced in 1997, represents more than just a shiny prize. It's the symbol of rivalry that runs deep in the hearts of fans on both sides. The first meeting in 1912 laid the groundwork for decades of fierce competition, with games often carrying the weight of the season's momentum. The rivalry has seen memorable moments like the Miracle in Morgantown in 1999, where Virginia Tech ranked number 1. 3 clinched a last-minute victory. Even though West Virginia leads the all-time series 30-23-1, Virginia Tech fans don't forget a single upset. Every matchup is passionate, high energy, and emotionally charged, filled with traditions like legendary tailgates and regional pride. Even though the rivalry has cooled a bit in recent years and no future matchups are scheduled yet, the Black Diamond Trophy will always be a reminder of this one-of-a-kind showdown between two schools that live for these games. The Iron Skillet, SMU versus TCU. SMU versus TCU, where football meets fiery passion and a literal skillet. The rivalry, which has been sizzling since 1915, has been fought for with the Iron Skillet Trophy since 1946. It's not your typical shiny trophy. This one's got some grill marks from decades of smack talk, pranks, and that undeniable Texas spirit. If you're from the Dallas-Fort Worth area, this isn't just a game. It's a showdown that'll get your adrenaline pumping faster than any grill can cook up a burger. With TCU leading 53-42-7 in the series, the games have often been high-scoring and emotional. Remember the game of the century in 1935? Over 36,000 fans packed into a 30,000-seat stadium for an undefeated TCU versus SMU clash. Every game since has been a battle for bragging rights, with tailgates that could feed an army and fans who will make you think twice before running your mouth. Unfortunately, the rivalry is getting paused after 2025 due to conference realignment. But no worries. The Iron Skillet is too legendary to stay on the shelf for long. The Lone Star Showdown, Texas versus Texas A&M. The Lone Star Showdown is about more than football. It's a fight for pride and bragging rights that mean everything to both teams. When Texas meets Texas A&M, the atmosphere is absolutely electric, with fans showing up in droves to cheer on their respective sides. From the Gig 'em chant to Hook 'em horns, this rivalry has created legendary moments that will make you question your very existence. Especially when one of those moments is a last-second field goal or an epic mascot kidnapping. Texas leads the series 61-33-3, but A&M fans don't care. Every win is earned, and every victory feels like the ultimate statement. The 1985 game, a 42-10 shellacking at Kyle Field, with fans screaming so loud the earth almost shifted. Since the annual football matchup was paused after 2011 when A&M moved to the SEC, fans have been itching for the return of this iconic showdown. Don't worry though, the rivalry is coming back in 2024, and it's going to be wild. War on I-4, UCF versus USF. When you're only 98 miles apart, you don't just have a rivalry, no, you have a war on I-4. UCF versus USF isn't about just playing football. It's a full-on battle for Florida dominance, and the stakes are always sky high. Sure, the rivalry is still young in football with the first meeting in 2005, but don't tell that to the fans. The rivalry is as heated as a Florida summer day. USF had a strong start, winning the first 4 matchups, but UCF quickly turned up the heat, dominating the series with some historic wins and even pulling off an undefeated regular season in just a few years. These teams don't play just for bragging rights. They play to keep the other team from ever forgetting who owns I-4. The atmosphere? Rowdy doesn't even begin to cover it. From intense blowouts to crazy upsets, these games always feel like a clash of titans, fueled by regional pride and passion. But now, with UCF leaving the American Athletic Conference in 2023, the annual meetings are on hold. Though the fans won't let the rivalry die, it's all about pride. And when you're in Florida, that's everything. This is Purdue. Indiana versus Purdue. The old Oak and Bucket game is one of those rivalries that's always been around, and it's not going anywhere. This game is pure tradition, with the winner taking home a trophy that literally comes with its own legend. The bucket? It's said to date back to the Civil War. Yeah, that old, and has been passed back and forth like a family heirloom for nearly a century. When the two schools meet, there's a level of pride on the line that goes beyond football. This isn't about playoff spots or rankings. This is about state supremacy, campus bragging rights, and showing the other school who's boss. Don't forget the bucket kidnappings. Students from both schools have stolen the trophy over the years, taking it to absurd extremes for a good laugh and a little extra trash talk. In terms of the actual football, Purdue has historically had the edge with 77 wins to Indiana's 43. But here's the thing, Indiana doesn't care how many games they've lost in the past. This is about pride, and no one's going to tell them the rivalry isn't worth it. When they finally win, it feels like a legendary moment, and the series is never lacking drama. The Apple Cup, Washington versus Washington State. The Apple Cup, it sounds sweet, but this rivalry is anything but. If you thought Washington versus Washington State was a calm affair, you're sorely mistaken. Born in 1900, this rivalry has been one of the most iconic in the Pacific Northwest, and it's only gotten hotter with each passing year. Apple Cup games bring brutal conditions and some of the wildest finishes in college football. Picture freezing cold, passionate fan bases, and games where you're not sure who's more tired, the players or the fans screaming in the stands. It might be called the Apple Cup, but there's nothing sweet about it. Washington has generally owned the series, leading 76-33-6 with 9 wins in the last 10 games. But don't think for a second that Washington State is a pushover. They've been known to throw a surprise or two in recent matchups, like that incredible goal line stand in 2024 that left Washington fans speechless. The intensity isn't just in the final score, it's in every single play, every tackle, every touchdown. And despite conference changes, these teams will keep meeting. Whether it's a neutral site or back at the home stadiums, the Apple Cup's future is set. And the one thing everyone can count on? Unpredictable chaos. The Governor's Cup, Kentucky versus Louisville. Kentucky versus Louisville. This rivalry is like the showdown you didn't know you needed. It might be young compared to others, having kicked off in 1994, but it's no less intense. The Governor's Cup represents the ultimate bragging rights between the two major football programs in Kentucky, and everyone wants a piece of that shiny trophy. The game is a full-blown state event, with the hype and energy spilling out of every corner of Kentucky. Fans are passionate, The tailgates are legendary, and the recruiting battles for Kentucky talent only add more fuel to the fire. It's seriously competitive, even though the series has been a bit of a roller coaster ride in recent years. Kentucky has had some streaks, but Louisville is always right there with them, keeping the rivalry spicy and unpredictable. And let's not forget the atmosphere. When these two schools face off, it's more than football. It's a statewide event. You get those intense crowds and you can feel the rivalry in the air. Whether it's a blowout or a nail-biter, this game never lacks for emotional drama. And it's a game where every win feels like it means just a little bit more. Rocky Mountain Showdown. Colorado versus Colorado State. The Rocky Mountain Showdown is a rivalry as wild as the Colorado Rockies themselves. Since 1893, Colorado versus Colorado State has been the annual clash that brings state pride to the forefront. It doesn't matter if you're Buffaloes or Rams, this game is all about who owns the mountain. There's something special about watching a Colorado versus Colorado State game. It's like watching the two best neighbors fight over who gets to keep the lawn gnome. The game has been played at neutral sites in Denver, adding to the statewide buzz. But the intensity doesn't just come from proximity, it's personal. Both schools are fighting for not only bragging rights, but also the title of being the top dog in Colorado. Historically, Colorado has had the upper hand, especially when they've been riding high with national prominence. But every so often, Colorado State will pull off something special, throwing a wrench into the rivalry's history. It's always high energy, with massive crowd support and rocky terrain to match. Whether the teams are in a national title race or just trying to prove a point, this rivalry has all the drama you'd expect from the Mountain State, and then some. Falcon Trophy. Air Force versus Colorado State. If you're ever in Colorado, there's a good chance you'll hear about the Falcon Trophy, even if you're not a huge football fan. It's the physical manifestation of pride between two Colorado rivals, Air Force and Colorado State. The rivalry is as fierce as the Rocky Mountain weather, dating back to 1957, but it really took off in 1980 when the trophy, a wooden carving made by a local artist, was introduced. It's about more than just the trophy. It's about bragging rights, pride, and a showdown that packs in history, tradition, and a few heated moments along the way. Over the years, Air Force has largely held the edge with 28 wins since the trophy's introduction. But don't think Colorado State is taking that lying down. 2024 saw them snap Air Force's 7-game streak with a huge win that sent the rivalry back into the underdog versus giant narrative. The games are intense, and the pigskin might as well be laced with wild mountain energy, full of big plays, even bigger hits, and the constant battle for regional bragging rights. This isn't just about football, it's about proving who's the real Colorado king. And with the rivalry showing no signs of cooling off, you can bet there's always something big on the line. Telephone Trophy, Iowa State versus Missouri. If you love college football historical oddities, the Telephone Trophy between Iowa State and Missouri is a must-know. The trophy? Well, it's a novelty telephone, yes, a literal phone, representing the geographic distance between the two schools. But don't let the quirkiness fool you. When these two get together, it's full throttle, even if the actual number of games has dipped since Missouri bolted for the SEC in 2012. This rivalry has always had that special flavor, a mix of regional pride and historical significance, as both teams once battled in the Big 12, fighting for conference bragging rights and recruiting dominance. But things haven't stayed simple. While the rivalry has cooled off a bit with Missouri's departure, each meeting, when it happens, packs the same emotional punch. Fans from both schools will swear that this rivalry still feels as heated as when the Telephone Trophy was introduced. And even though the series is less frequent these days when it's on, it's like that old friend showing up for a reunion. You know it's going to be wild. Battle for the milk can. Boise State versus Fresno State. Some rivalries have huge trophies, others have milk cans. Yes, Boise State and Fresno State battle for an actual milk can, which sounds weird but is also awesome because it perfectly symbolizes the dairy pride of both Idaho and California. The rivalry itself is steeped in the competitive spirit of the Mountain West Conference and kicked off in the late 1990s. These two teams have had some seriously tight matchups, and the milk can adds extra spice to an already tense series. If you've never seen the game, imagine high-energy football with both fan bases passionate about the win. Whether it's a high-scoring shootout or a defensive slugfest, each game is exciting and packed with drama. Plus, the trophy itself, a silver milk can, just makes it feel weirdly important, even though it's, just a can. Still, it's more than just the object. This rivalry is about proving who controls the Mountain West. Boise State might have a slight lead, but Fresno State fans are always quick to remind them that anything can happen when the milk can's on the line. One thing's for sure, this rivalry's got plenty of punch and a ton of fun. Battle on the Bayou, Louisiana versus UL Monroe. The battle on the Bayou may not be the most well-known, but it's incredibly intense. When Louisiana, UL Lafayette, and UL Monroe meet on the field, it's not just about football, it's about state pride and region-based bragging rights. Located within the Bayou, you can almost smell the Cajun spirit in the air. The competition itself has some serious heat, as these two Louisiana schools constantly battle for supremacy in the Sun Belt Conference. While the rivalry isn't nationally prominent, for fans in Louisiana, this game is everything. The physical play matches the passionate fan bases and the school's fierce local pride. There's something electric about watching these two teams clash, even when the records aren't perfect. It's all about the rivalry, the culture, and the history that ties these schools together. Even when their seasons aren't championship-worthy, this matchup is always worth watching. And as for the fans, they're known to make their voices heard. This rivalry may not always get the national spotlight, but when these two hit the field, it's on. That's a wrap on this rivalry rundown from CFB Almanac. Hit subscribe if you enjoyed this, drop your most heated football opinions in the comments, and like the video to help us reach more fans. Plenty more college football content is on the way. Stay tuned.